Hello and welcome to this video where we will be exploring how to do simple navigation between screens in React Native. So let's get to it. So first of all, we're going to visit the React Native documentation and real quick, go to design and then navigating between screens section, and then you can see that the navigation that they recommend is based on the React navigation library. So for this video, I will be walking you through how to install and perform simple navigation with the React navigation library. So for this video, we will skip over the React Native documentation and just go to the React navigation website itself and follow the documentation from there. Alright. So, we need to install the core library of the React navigation library. So in my expo generated project, I'll just run npm install React navigation /native. So the core utilities is the first one that you need always to install for a new project, but it uses some dependencies, which is React Native screens and React Native safe area context. So we need to install them. Since we are using Expo, we will use Expo install, which performs some commands under the hood, additional things that is pod install, and for Java or Android, you need to install some or add some additional codes. So all these things are done for you by default with the expo install command. Also the reason why we don't see npm install here. So we copy and paste the commands and we wait for it to finish. So while we are waiting for it to load, let's finally go the bottom real quick, bottom section, and then for the last step of the installation, we need to wrap our entire app in the navigation container. We do this in our entry file. It's usually app.js. So for React Native, it's app.js. We need to wrap our entire app in a navigation container component, and it states that you should only use it once. Now that the installation is completed, we just verify the installed dependencies in package.json, and then we can see that we have installed the React Navigation Native library, and then the React Native screens and React Native safe area context. And you might want to consider reviewing or taking note of the versions in case you run into any errors. So let's copy and paste the import in our app.js file. So we need navigation container from the React navigation /native. And then for this project, we will just remove all the default code. And just replace it with the navigation container. So navigation container will have children inside. So let's save. And my iOS app is not loaded, so I will open the iOS app. And now we have successfully done the setup. So our next step is to actually do some navigation. So before we actually can do navigation, we need to have some screens. And we can do that navigation by installing the native Stack library inside of React navigation. So in our terminal, run the command again, yak navigation slash native stack, and install it. And we wait for it to finish. For the Android one, let's also reload it. It should be a blank screen. Like this one. So now that the installation is completed, let's proceed. So what is the next step after you've installed this? You need to create a native Stack.Navigator. So the navigator is what enables you to define the screens which you will navigate to, and also the navigation actions. So we need to create the native Stack.Navigator, but first we need to import it, which we can copy and paste from this line here. So we create first the Stack.Navigator outside of the main component. So we define stack as a variable that will hold the object returned by the create native Stack.Navigator. So this is a function that will return an object containing a navigator component and a screen component. So as the example shows, we can run this app, and we will do it step by step. First, create the Stack.Navigator, Stack.Navigator, which is a component that requires a children of Stack.Screen. So the Stack.Screen component does not have any children. It's self-closing, and you need to pass the following props: name, which is also the route, so we'll call it home. And for the component, we'll call it home screen. It's Pascal case, and usually for the components that are treated as screens, you want to place screen at the last part of the name. So this doesn't exist yet. And home is also the route name, which React Navigation uses to navigate to that specific screen. So if you want to navigate to a different screen called profile, you would need to have a screen with the name of profile. So let's quickly create our home screen component inside first app.js. Then we'll separate it later. Return simple view from React Native. So we need to import again. And then text from React Native also. We need to import again. Then let's just name it home screen. Then for some styles, we define an inline style, flex 1, justify center, and then align center. And let's try and see what our app shows. Yeah, so as you can see, the React Navigation library by default provides you with a header that contains the title of the route, the screen, which is also the route. So the route name and the default title is shown at the center for iOS, and then for Android it's on the left. So the React Navigation library uses the default navigator of each. So this is the default behavior of each navigator on their respective platform. So now that we have the screens, we can try and create a new screen called home screen. So we'll just copy and paste the same code, just replacing home with profile screen, and then declaring the same way we used for home. Stack.Screen name, then profile component profile screen. All right. So if you'll notice, home is the one that's shown, profile is not. So by default, the top level the top level screen is the one that's rendered by default. So if we were to switch them, profile would be on top. The profile should be the one rendered first on build. This change requires you to refresh or reload the app. So on my npm run start, I'll just press R to reload the screen, and when the app reloads, you should see that the profile screen is now the one that's shown by default. So we just need to wait a little bit for Android. Yep, so profile screen. So what if you still want to run the home screen even though it's not at the very top? So for an ordered list of screens, so you can define an initial route name prop based on the route name of your intended screen. So try to reload again after adding this initial route name prop. Okay. So on iOS, should see it home even though the profile is at the top, unlike before. So you should see similar results on Android. Just need to wait a little bit for the Android to take effect. Yep. So this is how you define the initial route name. So let's just return it for organization's sake. Yeah. Then we should reload again just to be safe. All right. So how do we do navigation between two screens? So by default, React Navigation passes a default props to each of its screen components. So React Navigation passes some props to it that we don't see because it's done under the hood or behind the scenes. So now we try to display it with the console log and the props. We see that there's an object called navigation that is returned as a prop. So let's try and print it. You can see that the navigation object or the navigation prop contains a list of functions, so many functions. But for this video, we'll only be exploring navigate, which is this one, and goBack, which is where I can't see it. goBack. Is focus yan. goBack. goBack here, and then navigate. So remember that this is a Stack.Navigator, so it behaves just like a stack would. So keep that in mind. But for now, we will attempt to navigate to profile screen using a button from React Native. So title is go to profile screen. And then on press, we define a function that will call the function that we saw earlier, which is props.navigation.navigate. So the navigate function only just needs your route name, the key, if you will. Then passing the profile, you'll be able to navigate the profile screen. as you can see here. So the Navigation library by default, their header that's built in to the library provides you a back button. So in here has the name to which it will go back to, which is home, and it goes back to the home screen. Then for iOS, there's an additional bonus of the slide, which is the native behavior of iOS apps, right? So you can do that. For Android, there isn't any option for that though. You just have to use the back button, but you have the hardware back button instead. Yeah. So the back button and the hardware back button, or the system back button. So what if we wanted to build an in-app, something that's inside the screen, not necessarily part of the header, because there are instances where the header should not be visible. For example, if you're building a customized app. So on the profile screen, we define the same button. Let's give it a title of goBack on press, and then in this function, we just want it to go back. So we declare navigation goBack. So what this does is it goes back the previous screen that you navigated from. Convenient, isn't it? So you can also use navigate. For example, if you went to copy this code on profile, and then we specify home and home here, you can also implement the same behavior, right? And should go back the same way. But this navigate behaves differently from goBack. So what we recommend, or what I recommend, is if you want to go back to the previous screen, you just use goBack. If you want to navigate to a new screen or a different screen, you just use the navigate command or function. Alright. So these are the very first commands that you need to learn to perform simple navigation between screens. So with that, we are officially done with our simple navigation in React Native. So hope this video has helped you, and in the follow-up video after this one, we will separate our functions or our components into separate files for more code organization and proper structure. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.